I just realized that our audio is not going. So
Perfect.
there we go. Got that down.
Aha.
They got to look at these four handsome faces.
Can you hear me
Oh
now?
God.
Yeah.
Well, let me make sure. Let me bring up the stream on my phone.
We are the four
Oh
horsemen
man.
of handsomenimity. So
Well, that's off to a great start already. God.
there you go. That little
Perfect.
Reddit reference for y'all.
Thanks, Dad.
welcome.
Well, I guess I'll redo the intro again. Hi, we like this podcast. I already did this, but we were all muted, so
Yeah, we're muted.
I'm
so that's
making
pretty cool.
sure.
What are you drinking? Is that a
Yeah.
tea lime or lemon or whatever that thing is from the movie?
Thanks, Dad.
Oh yeah,
sweet lime.
Sweet
Sweet
lime.
lime.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sweet lime. Thanks. Yeah.
Mhm.
Sorry, go ahead, Dave.
Mango.
Okay, cool.
Oh no,
So,
this one's this
now
one.
that we're broadcasting audio, hi, welcome to the podcast. We're talking about Darjeeling Limited. We have our podcast beers, and we're going to be talking about this movie. So we're going to be doing like what did I call it?
A constant synopsis.
A constant synopsis, so you can
synopsis.
follow along.
Canopsis.
Canopsis, yeah. So you can follow along.
Constant
As we,
synopsis.
I knew I've already had a few.
Canopsis.
Yeah.
I'm coining that term then. I'm copywriting that.
There you go.
Yeah. So, yeah, this movie starts with somebody that's not even in the movie. It's so weird.
Well, he is in the movie. He's in the intro.
And he's in the outro.
Yeah.
Well, the
he's in the
semi
outro,
outro.
yeah.
Mhm.
That
But
counts.
yeah, they introduce Adrian Brody's character by like having an A-list actor running for the train and
Yeah.
not making it. It's the
It's
weirdest
fun.
It's pretty funny.
choice.
Especially since you think, oh, Bill Murray's in this, and he's not in it again until the very end, pretty much.
It's
He
great.
doesn't have
Yeah.
like he doesn't do anything. I don't even know who he is. He's not important at all.
He doesn't have a name. Yeah, he's just
No
a dude
character name.
running
no
after a train. So
Yeah, but Adrian Brody gets on the train and then he meets up with his two brothers, right?
Mhm.
yep. So there's Jack is
Which
in,
is not abundantly obvious from the outset. At least
Well,
not for me. It
They all
wasn't.
look like brothers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what
Not
I were
really.
cast.
But yeah, I mean it is weird. You're right. They don't tell you actually much. There's a lot left to be inferred.
Mhm. I
throughout
thought
the
they were
whole
friends
movie.
for the first like 5 minutes of them talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Owen
Yeah.
Wilson is like laying down ground rules with them, and then he's like, first of all, I just want to tell you thank you for coming. Second of all, I love you. And like they're really
Yeah.
awkwardly like, okay. Yeah, I love you too. And it's like, I don't know, it's an interesting intro, I guess. It's very like you're in the thick of it and you're kind of like in this really private moment, it feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you realize, I guess, that they're in India, if it wasn't obvious before, because the stewardess comes in with the tray of sweet tea after the guy checks their tickets,
Sweet lime.
and marks them all with the religious Hindi symbol.
Which is interesting. That's how if you can drink tea, you got to have that, I guess.
You have to.
I don't
Is that
actually
what it
know
is?
the customs at all. Yeah,
You just said again, I already forgot. It's sweet lime.
Sweet lime.
lime.
Right.
Yeah, whatever that is. It's
I have no idea.
I'll take that on a train. That's interesting.
I mean, it sounds good.
yeah, it does.
Yeah,
sound-
it sounds
Sweet
good.
I
lime.
don't know if it is good, but it sounds good. And how beautiful is that girl?
Mm,
She's pretty.
She's all right.
Just
yeah.
absolutely, just stunning. Like when I saw this movie 1,000 years ago on accident, I was like, "Oh Lord, who?
Yeah.
What do we have here?" I turned into
Oh,
Lando
my.
Calrissian.
have
The charm or the
Yeah, yeah.
handsomenimity, or the ability to gamble. Apparently, no, that girl is absolutely beautiful.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, but they don't
so-
make a big deal out of it until a little.
You don't
while
have to.
later.
Yeah, it's fun.
Speaks
Well,
for
it's
itself.
it's just funny because you're like, oh yeah, whatever, just throw away beautiful stewardess, not going to be a big deal.
I'm playing at the Winnie
And
Roast.
then they go and have breakfast in like the breakfast car because they're not allowed to smoke in their car, so they
Well,
want to
they
go.
say, let's go have a cigarette and a drink, like right
Yeah.
away.
yeah.
And then they start popping like pills and taking.
Yeah.
Like, they like show off all the Indian
I
prescription
love
drugs
that.
they
Yeah.
can get.
They're taking all these painkillers. Like in every other scene, they're like spiking
Yeah.
their drinks.
Yeah.
Cough syrup.
And just trying it. They're
High
passing them around
the
and stuff.
whole
Yeah.
time.
Time.
Yeah.
Absolutely high the whole
That's how
time.
you have a religious experience. Or
Yeah.
spiritual
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
Spiritual for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what Owen Wilson wants. He wants them to have like a, what does he call it? Like a spiritual experience.
Mhm.
And he's like
Yeah, I
prepared
think
an
it's fair to say.
itinerary for
Religious, he
them, and
became
And
spiritual.
you find out as the movie progresses that it's been a year since their father's funeral.
Mhm.
So, and they're
Right.
kind of rejoining up after that. They haven't really
Yeah.
seen
yeah. Well,
this
they
whole time.
imply it, but they never actually go out and say it until much later on in the movie.
Yeah, you figure out later as the film goes on, of course.
Yeah.
So.
But there is a very fascinating scene where he's um what's uh what's that guy's name? The third brother, not Owen Wilson or Adrian Brody.
There's Peter,
Jack.
Jack,
Jason Schwartzman?
and
Is it?
Jason Schwartzman.
Jason.
Yeah,
Jack.
Jason Schwartzman.
that's Jack. Yeah. He
It's
sees
Little
the
Jack.
stewardess again, Little Jack. He sees the stewardess again, and he just says into the camera, "I want that girl."
Dude,
Yeah.
there's actually a whole string of quotes that just come out of nowhere. Yeah, he's I want that stewardess. I wrote them down because I thought they were hilarious. There's this one right after where he just Owen Wilson just looks at everyone and goes, "Did I raise us?"
Oh
Yeah.
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 Uh,
It's
Super
hilarious.
weird.
So this is the first Wes Anderson film I ever saw, and it kind of ruined me for all Wes Anderson films because I couldn't
Interesting, yeah.
really get through any. And this is not considered one of his best one if you read the reviews and stuff. But
Right.
for me, for whatever reason, I loved this film. It has this major emotional impact for me. And when I watch other Wes Anderson films, they're just kind of like, "Oh, this is cute," kind of thing, and I can
Yeah.
rarely get all the way through them. But this one, like I can't, I still haven't finished Royal Tenenbaums. It's like
Oh,
it's
so
Me
good.
neither, actually.
It's so good.
it
I
just
know.
feels like it just keeps going on. I'm just like, I'm not getting this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I did this Life as Steve Zissou. That was pretty good. I can make it most through the one with the hotel and the lobby boy. That one's pretty funny.
Budapest.
I can never get
Mhm.
through all these movies for some reason. But this
Yeah.
one, I'm transfixed the whole time, and it's always very very emotional for me for some reason.
Well,
That's
this one's
great.
got to
Like
be one
it's
of
three
his shortest
brothers.
movies, also, right?
It's
Only
2
an hour and
hours.
30.
It's 2 hours.
Mhm.
What?
I think it's an hour
Yeah.
and 30.
I thought
Is it?
Amazon Prime said it's
Maybe I'm wrong.
Amazon Prime.
I don't know.
Spitting these lies all over the place.
Yeah, it's not that long.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
But it is really good. There's a lot of things that he does in this movie that he does, I think, often, but
It's 91 minutes.
one of them is the lack
Okay.
of
So an hour 30.
yeah. One of them is the lack of music. It's like a very quiet ambiance film, and the only time they really introduce music is either for montages or when he's playing his iPod.
Yeah.
Mhm. There's a very
Um,
interesting thing about the music is they actually took the soundtracks from popular India movies.
oh, is that true?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was in the
I
trivia
wasn't sure how
on-
that.
on
I mean,
Viki.
it's Indian music, obviously. You can tell.
Yeah.
That's
I
how they
really
got
know
it.
how it's selected. I don't know about Indian music.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
don't know
have
about
it,
it
all
either.
so.
three all three brothers since their dad has got shit going on. Like Adrian Brody's character is about to his wife's about to give birth.
Right.
Jason Schwartzman, it sounds like his girlfriend dumped him.
Mm-hmm.
He's
And then
checking her messages.
yeah,
throughout.
Owen Wilson is covered in bandages. We didn't mention
Yeah.
that.
Crashed
Yeah,
his
he's just
bike
yeah.
into a
That's
hill.
another
Mhm.
another thing about this movie.
He's just got
You
these
don't-
bandages all over his face the
Kind of
entire
Yeah,
time.
weird
initially-
foam.
He comes onto screen and he's got all these bandages, and for a minute I'm like, oh my god, like what happened there? And then he starts talking. I completely forget that.
Yeah,
those
it
are
just becomes a
on
part of his
face.
character. Yeah.
And then maybe 10 minutes later, Adrian Brody's like, oh, by the way, what happened to your face? And I was like, man,
Yeah.
I completely forgot there was even a
It's-
thing.
It is really funny every single time. What happened to your face? There's a lot of repeated dialogue in this movie.
Yeah.
Or a lot of repeated like beats that the characters do. Like Owen Wilson is constantly ordering for his brothers or
Mhm.
asking them to commit to agreements.
Let's make an
Yeah.
agreement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's make an
Yeah.
agreement.
I love it. Let's make an agreement.
It's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
And it's always a
every single
3-part
time.
agreement.
Mhm.
Right.
Right. And so basically like not a whole lot of substance happens in the very first act where they're on the train, except that we learn a little bit about the characters and what they've got going on in their lives, and that Jack then goes and bangs the stewardess in
Yeah.
a very
Yeah.
interesting way. He kind of like pulls a fast one on her. He like sees her smoking a cigarette, and then he orders food, and then she comes over, and then she goes back out to get the food, and then he sneaks into the bathroom, and then she walks up to the room, and he bangs on the bathroom window, and she sees him, and then she walks up to him, and then he's like, "You want to smoke a cigarette?" And it hard cuts to them banging.
Yeah.
So it's really crazy play.
Yeah.
Crazy play. Yeah.
But more power to them. And then clearly, she's just wants it to be a one-off thing.
Yeah.
And then they're off
Tries to kiss her on the way out of the bathroom.
It was so funny. She's like, "Get out of here!"
Yeah. Like, what do you think just happened here?
Yeah.
This is a relationship. Get out of here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's pretty good, but the whole beginning, it's just like these are the weirdest guys. They're so strange.
Yeah.
And like I don't understand initially like what the hell they're doing on this train together. I guess they're going to see well, they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah,
either,
they're
right?
going
It's
somewhere.
only-
They're going
it's
somewhere
only
that
Owen Wilson.
Owen
Only
Wilson's
Owen
character.
Owen
Wilson
Wilson wrote
Yeah.
the itinerary. He's the only one who really knows.
With Brendan, his assistant, who we won't see
Oh,
this
right.
whole trip. They see him almost instantly.
Yeah.
I love. I know it's later in the movie, but he's like when Brendan asks him, I forget what he asked him, and he's like, "Well, why are you so bald?"
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like-
And he
it
calls
was
him
like,
an albino.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It was like,
It's
and
like, no,
now
it's
I have a
alopecia.
disease.
Is that like
Yeah.
albinism?
Yeah, and then he just gets on back on the train. He's like, he just quit.
Yeah.
Is that what just happened? That is what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why are
Well,
you so bald?
I mean, that's
He
really
says-
the.
And
He
he told
says,
his brothers,
this guy-
don't mention it
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
the
It's like this guy, he shaved his head, but actually he doesn't need to shave his head because he doesn't grow hair at all. It's a disease.
Or he's constantly
Yeah.
shaved or
Wait,
something.
So,
He says he's
Yeah,
constantly
don't
shaved.
ask him about it.
so he's bald. That's it.
Oh my god. It
funny
it
about-
has such a weird way of describing things in this movie. The dialogue is
in
bizarre.
Wes
Mhm.
Anderson movies altogether, all the actors, every line is delivered super low key with almost no emotion. It's kind of weird.
That's the thing
Yeah.
that was like really, I was really trying to figure out what was going on. And I was actually reading, sorry to cut you off, Dad, but
no, you're good.
Wikipedia on Grand Budapest Hotel. And I don't know how to pronounce her name. It's Irish. Suarez Ronan? Schwaze?
I heard it recently and I already forgot it.
Schwar-
It's
Schwar-
hard to pronounce. Yeah,
It's like one of those names like Seamus that looks like
Saoirse.
Seamus.
It's Saoirse.
What? Saoirse?
Saoirse. I think it's Saoirse.
Saoirse.
Yeah,
I'm Irish and that's stupid. Okay, so
part.
Tell you what's up.
yeah,
That's the part
I'll-
you can't
I'll
pronounce.
lay it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but her initial like holdback before she signed on to Grand Budapest Hotels, she didn't know if she could deliver the lines as deadpan, as
Yeah.
the style was, and I was like, that's what it is. They're delivering them in a very deadpan style, and
Yeah.
I
Oh,
couldn't
yeah.
really
Everybody
figure it
is-
out. But that's
Not
that's
a lot of
absolutely what it is.
emotion, very low key. All the delivery. It's how he does his movies.
But the
It's
thing
part of
though,
the charm of the film.
the thing though is that I think you have to be a really good actor to sell that, because
right,
all
you
of his
can't
movies
just-
sell
yeah.
it, because
Mhm.
it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect, and it's part of his style.
It's weird how it fits the style, you know. And he shoots
Yeah.
everything with a 21 millimeter anamorphic lens.
Yeah, dude, this movie was shot super wide.
Yeah, the whole most of his
Yes.
movies are shot wide. If you watch his
Mhm.
stuff, almost all his movies are shot super wide because he uses, I think it's a 21. I know Spielberg loves a 21 millimeter anamorphic, but yeah, he shoots super wide and he doesn't get close ups. He holds shots a lot. I love his
Yeah.
dolly work. He's
Yes.
big
I was
into
gonna say
dolly
this
shots.
movie has some amazing dolly
Great
shots.
dolly shots. Yeah, they
Yeah.
really just perpetuate the story beautifully. And he likes the camera pans too.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
Well, I mean,
know,
the cinematography in
great.
this movie
Whip
So
is
great.
gorgeous,
whip
but
pans,
that's
yeah.
a Wes Anderson like staple.
Yeah, the colors are beautiful.
Mhm.
You're right. The set design in all his films are just absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
beautiful color palettes, and I love the suitcases they're dragging around everywhere.
Oh yeah. Well, the
Yeah.
suitcases end up being pretty important, but
They do.
yeah.
They do, yeah.
before that happens, they get off the train for like an initial stop, and essentially, it's really funny because that scene where they get off the train the first time, it's just them each buying something that is going to cause problems later on.
Yeah.
It's Adrian Brody buys a poisonous
Gina.
snake.
Gina just joined the
Uh,
chat.
Jack hi,
Buys
Gina.
mace.
Jack buys
He gets a
fucking
giant fucking
mace.
thing of mace.
Yeah, buys
Mace,
a
yeah,
Huge
that's
thing of
great.
mace that tastes
He's
like
like-
whipped cream canisters.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to
Right?
kill anyone.
It looks
And
like a
Owen
fire
Wilson-
extinguisher. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Owen Wilson wait, what
The
does
belt?
he end up buying? He buys
No,
doesn't
he-
buy the belt.
he buys shoes.
He already had the belt.
Well, yeah, he
Uh,
has to buy shoes in the end. Or no, he takes one of Adrian
He
Brody.
gets one shoe. He
Yeah,
still
he
takes the one
takes that
shoe
one
that
shoe.
Adrian Brody,
Yeah.
his character, bought.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because the one gets stolen, his $3,000 loafers.
Right, yeah.
and getting a shine.
But either way, then they all pray in that church together and basically
Hilarious.
discover that they've all been lying to each other already.
Yeah.
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 I think the first act when they're on the train, they're like, "Don't." There's a moment where everybody leaves for a little bit, and then somebody says to somebody else, "This is a secret. Don't tell that guy."
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
like they change the three characters, and it's like, "This is a secret. Don't tell him." And then like in this church in India, they're all just everything comes out all at
Yeah.
once.
It's like you told
Yeah.
him.
Well, that scene where Adrian Brody's like, "Oh, by the way, Jack's leaving early."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
just so you know.
Doesn't
As soon as-
even.
As soon
Yeah.
as Jack realizes that he just got thrown under the bus, he's like, "Oh yeah, so you know he's pregnant. Do you know that?"
Yeah.
So he's gonna get on the-
I like that we saw. Why wouldn't you tell me that we don't trust each other?
Yeah, like
That's
right off the
great,
bat,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
we
the
don't trust
interesting
each other.
thing is like as soon as you like, I guess in the first 10 to 15 minutes, you really understand that these brothers aren't working together. They're very dysfunctional, but they understand each
Yeah.
other very, very well. That's why
But
they're
they're
so
still
open and
family.
honest. Yeah,
Yeah.
you
They
know,
still
but-
love each other. They're still family. They're just.
yeah,
It's like that line later when Jack says, "Do you think we'd be friends in real life? You know, if
Yes.
we weren't
Yeah.
brothers."
which
It's
is a
so-
heavy
it's the
fucking
best-
line,
it's-
dude. It's a heavy.
It's the
fucking
best line in the whole fucking movie,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
it's a great way to point out that about families. A lot of times, it's like
Mhm.
you probably wouldn't be friends if you weren't
Yeah.
related, but because
Mhm.
you are related, you're probably closer than any friends would ever be.
Yeah.
Potentially, sometimes. I mean, there's lots
Yeah.
of dysfunctional families out there, obviously, but
And one thing you also notice too is I'm not too sure about Jack, but with Francis, because he takes after the mom a lot, you know,
Yes.
which we find out later. He's the one that's always ordering for them and trying to take care of them and making all these agreements and pacts and stuff like
yeah.
that.
He's the one
Yeah.
that set this
About
whole trip
everything.
up. Yeah.
Has an itinerary, all that stuff, and then
Has a bunch of money too. He's
Yeah,
Hey,
obviously
he's
very
pretty
rich.
loaded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
And then Peter, which is Adrian Brody's character,
middle child.
yeah, is taking all of the dad's belongings, the razor,
Yeah.
the watch. I love that. It's
The
like, is that
glasses.
Oh,
that
the
dad's
card,
razor? Yeah.
Well, it's funny, man, because the first time when he's
kept his
like, "Are those dad's
prescription?"
glasses?"
Yeah.
And he's like, and then
And
he
he's always
goes,
running, yeah.
away for a minute and he talks to Jack and he's like, "You know, those glasses." He says something like, "It's
Yeah.
really immoral. I mean, most of all, you know, those are our glasses. Those are all
Yeah,
three of ours."
Legally, they belong to all three. of them.
Yeah.
And the first time around, you think like, "Oh, this guy's just being weird," but then you start realizing he's taken like a bunch of their dad's stuff. Like
Yeah.
everything on him is used to belong to their dad.
But the thing is like I think they're all three of them are still grieving over the loss of their father. And that's why they're doing this.
yeah,
that's why they
what's
have
going on.
his suitcases. Those are his suitcases, right? That's the dad's
Right.
Yeah,
suitcases.
that's the
Yeah.
dad's
Not
suitcases,
theirs.
yeah, we find that out later. Yeah.
And we don't know exactly why they're bringing him around, except for they're
It's
just
a lot
holding.
of suitcases.
They're just holding onto his stuff because they want to hold on to him, which is pretty rough.
Which is why it's holding on to all the stuff there. Well, they're still even a year later, and they're still in the stages of grief.
Yeah,
And the mom is bounced. She didn't go
Mhm.
to the funeral. We find this out later.
She went to a monastery in Nepal and became a nun.
Yeah.
right. And that's, I mean, you know, that's what Owen Wilson reveals to them, is that the
Right.
whole reason they're in India in the first place isn't because they're on like a spiritual journey. It's because they're going to go find their mom.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
other two brothers are like, "God damn it, you just took us here to like trick us into trying to find her." And they're all very upset about it.
Because they're like, and they say like, did she want to see us? You know, and he's
Mhm.
like, I haven't talked to her yet.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And I love
Yeah.
when he's talking to Brendan the entire time. I honestly I'd forgotten. I hadn't watched this movie all the way through until we decided we were going to watch it for this episode, and so I didn't know that they went and saw the mom in the end. And so when he's talking to Brendan about it, you know, like, were you able to reach her? And he's like, well, I left a message.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Well, did she get it? Like, I think so. It's like all this stuff. I always thought they were like, I thought he was like planning something at the end, like a big hotel or like a party or something like that. But you realize that it's actually something much more close to home, which is
Oh
very
yeah,
important.
no, I mean, it's a much sadder circumstance. It's three brothers who lost their father trying to reconnect with their mom is what it ends up being a journey on. But before they get there, uh, because of the snake, they get in trouble because their snake gets loose, and then
Yeah.
the
They get in trouble with what's her name's boyfriend.
right,
Yeah.
the
He
owner
runs
of
the-
the
he's the-
train or the
Is that what's going? Yeah, no, he's
Mhm.
the conductor. I think.
The
Yeah, the
Yeah, he's the
conductor is actually what's
Yeah.
like, the
and
lady
he puts
that
them
Jack
on
is
yeah he
picking.
puts them on timeout. He tells them not to come out of
Yeah.
the room.
Yeah.
And then they get into a fight, like a fist fight between.
I love when he throws a belt at
Yes.
his face.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
the belt. Owen Wilson gets mad because Adrian Brody borrows his belt without asking, and then
Yeah.
he ends up giving the belt to him. But
Not even
Adrian
that. The
Brody-
best line in that entire
For me and
exchange, he's
Jack.
like, for me and Jack, he gives him the
Yeah.
belt and he's like, this is for me and Jack. And
Oh, yeah.
Adrian
Like,
Brody
and
just
Jack's
accepts it. He's just
nodding
like, he's like, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Mhm.
This
It's
is a
like-
Christmas gift.
Yeah.
It's
from
so
last year.
so
Oh
good.
my God.
It's
Later,
so
he's
like-
good.
He's like, by the way, I'm gonna need that belt back.
Yeah.
Made
yeah,
special
we'll
for
get
me.
you
and it
something
cost me
else. Well, he gets
Yeah.
mad at Adrian Brody.
$6,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He gets mad at him for whatever reason, so he wants to take the belt
Initially,
back.
why they fight though? I know he throws a belt at his face. So they get mad about something, and then they fight, and then of course,
It's just a bunch of emotions that kind of boil over. I think it's because at this point, Adrian Brody is shaving with their dad's razor, and so they kind of get
that's
into
right,
that
yeah,
again.
yeah.
I think that
Oh, yeah.
starts that entire thing. Because at this point, he's had the sunglasses and the watch, and now he's got the
Yeah.
razor.
Yeah.
And so,
and that's when.
and the
and
keys.
then,
Yeah, the keys.
Jack busts out the fucking pepper spray.
Yeah.
Remember, he buys
He
for
just
some
started-
reason
to stop the
he-
fight.
Indian. You know, you just stop
And
at a
he
bazaar in
maces
India and you get a
them.
yeah, and then they all escape back out of their room and into the hallway of the train and get in
Mhm.
trouble.
Well, right, because Jack is
thrown
running
off the
away
train.
from them after macing them, and he
Yeah.
runs
Yeah.
face first into glass, breaks it.
Yeah,
Oh.
And then the conductor's like, "Get the fuck off my!"
they
train."
get kicked
Yeah.
off the train.
Mhm.
I like what that Rita chick is like hanging out the window, and Jack goes over and talks all. Did you get maced too?
Oh, and she's like, "No, I'm just crying."
Yeah.
Ah, that's a great line.
Then she gives him a
Did you get
sack of
maced too?
drugs,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
and he's like, "Goodbye, Rita, till I see
I-
you again."
I love the part two when the trains are taking off and they're fucking throwing rocks.
Oh yeah.
Oh my
That is
god!
such a brother thing to do.
Well,
Right.
not even that. It's like Ben actually pointed out really, really well
funny.
last week. He said that Wes Anderson movies, it's like all the adults are children, all the children are adults, which is great
Yeah, yeah.
because in this movie, it's a movie that is primarily adults, and they're just acting like little kids the entire time. You know,
I would throw rocks. at that
I would
fucking
absolutely throw rocks. I'd be pissed. Did you see where they got dropped off? First off, it's like 1 a.m. and it's in the middle of nowhere in India in the desert.
But that's the funny thing though, is like these guys were such a you're just supposed to get on a train and ride it somewhere. You're not supposed to cause all this insanity, right? So
Yeah.
you have
Yeah.
every right to throw them off that goddamn train,
Oh yeah, they
Yeah.
totally
Oh.
earned that.
Mhm.
right? They
Freaking-
totally
yeah,
earned
the
it. It's
conductor's like,
hilarious.
"You brought a poisonous snake
Absolutely.
onto my train."
I'd be mad
Yeah.
too.
I like it that dude without hesitation just gets a spatula and goes and gets the snake.
He gets a
Yeah.
spatula
Without
of all
hesitation.
things.
It's so funny. He
great.
knows
I got
exactly
this.
what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like this has happened so many times.
Mhm.
Oh my god.
Well, that brings us to now they're stuck in the desert, and then they have like they make that bonfire thing, right?
Right.
And they try to do this like, well, before they try to do the ceremony with like a peacock feather, or no, they're gonna do it here where they have like these like peacock feathers where they're gonna like, I don't even know what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to like make a wish or something and then bury it, but they all do the wrong thing. You know, they all go off and they like do the ritual or whatever, the prayer or whatever it is, and then they all come back together. And Jack's like, mine blew over to the mountains. What does that mean? He's like, and then Owen Wilson's like, you're supposed to bury it, and he's like,
You said
Yeah.
you read the instructions.
yeah. And it's just like it's another show of like these brothers really don't work on the same
Yeah.
level with each other. They're not on the same page
Right.
at all, even though they lie and say that they are. Which I thought was
Yeah.
another really, really good scene because they just kind of give up and they just get high together again.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And they take like
exactly. They're
all
sitting
the
around
drugs.
the campfire and they're like, "Fuck this, let's get high."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, which honestly, I think they probably just don't feel like they can hang out with each other unless they're high.
Probably.
Probably.
Well, that's when he says that line. Is like, "Do you think we'd be friends if we weren't brothers?"
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a
Um,
fucking. It's my favorite. It's the best line in the whole movie. It's my favorite line in the movie for
It's pretty
sure.
rough, man.
Yeah,
that is a
it's
that is a
really good
heavy,
line. It gets
It's
at the
fucking
heart.
heavy
heavy.
line. Yeah.
It's heavy.
Yeah. And Owen Wilson at this point has also read the short story through.
Yeah.
And so both of them are
Mhm.
like, "Yeah, you did a really good job remembering how that went." And he's
I
like,
like
"No,
that.
no, no, they're fictional characters."
Fictional characters.
They're totally fictional
Fictional
characters.
characters. That's part great.
Because
too.
Little Jack has written a story that is very clearly about something that all three of them went through, and he
Yeah.
makes
Yeah.
them read it.
Yeah.
Which is just great. So I guess the next day they're walking through the desert.
It's
And
my
that's
other
actually
favorite line in the whole movie.
Yeah. This
My other
is-
favorite line in the whole movie. These three kids, right, are crossing this river with all this shit. And what does Owen Wilson say? Look at
Look at these
It's
assholes.
such a great fucking line. Look at these assholes.
Well,
Yeah.
I
the
say it
great thing
all the
is
fucking
like
time.
you're getting that wide shot of the three of them, and so it's
Yeah.
it's obviously like he's talking about these little kids, but you as the audience are like, okay, well, obviously they're the assholes
Yeah.
here. It's such a
Yeah.
good delivery after all the shit that they just went through, and the audience has seen, and they're looking at these
yeah.
little kids trying to cross the river. It's so good. Hey,
Uh,
Bandy.
10. These kids are
Hey,
7,
Bandy.
8, and 10 or something. He's
Little
like, look at
kids.
these assholes.
Look at these assholes. Yeah, exactly.
pretty
God,
funny.
and it's things go south quick when the freaking
Very quickly.
Yeah, the raft flips over
Yeah.
that these little kids are on, and then they all burst into action.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um,
When it happens, they pan over to Adrian Brody's character. He's like, go. And then that's when they run and go to
Right.
save
Yeah.
these kids.
yeah. And then Owen Wilson and Jack are fine, but Adrian Brody gets tossed down the river with the kid he was trying to save. And you get like a couple tense moments before he resurfaces and he's covered in blood and he's got the kid in his arms. And he says the most heartbreaking thing. That's probably the hardest part.
Mhm.
He says, "I didn't save mine." And it's
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just so sad, man.
Yeah.
It's
God
so
damn.
sad.
And yeah, the kid died while getting tossed down the river. Adrian Brody, the other two kids were fine, but it was just like, for whatever reason, he couldn't save his.
And those three kids are brothers.
Yeah.
Right.
They're brothers.
Right.
They saved these three brothers, but he couldn't save his.
Yeah.
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 It's fucking.
Yeah, especially that scene where they're walking back towards the
Heartbreaking, but
village, and one of the brothers is walking next to Adrian Brody, and he's still holding his dead brother's hand the
Yeah.
entire
Yeah.
time.
It's all
It's like,
fucking
whoa.
sad, man.
Yeah.
And there's no music, there's no nothing. It's all visual, and it's just beautiful.
No.
You know
Yeah.
that. I mean, the talented, very talented director to be able to
Yeah.
pull, and all actors and everybody to be able to pull that off with no real sexy camera work, no nothing. It's just
Yeah,
letting
well,
it
and
breathe.
music really is a huge part of why death scenes are so impactful usually, or not
Yeah.
a death scene, but when a death occurs
Mhm.
on screen, usually music is part of why it's so emotionally impactful. So I like that you were basically left to determine for yourself, oh my God, that was heavy.
Yeah,
a
and
quiet
how much
moment
is this
and
going to
let it-
affect you? Because
Yeah.
all it is them walking back to the village. There's no slow motion, like my dad said. There's no slow motion, there's nothing going on, no
Mhm.
extra anything. And the thing about it too is like again, it's that deadpan acting that all these actors are doing for these Wes Anderson movies. There's not a whole lot of expression on their face. They're not crying.
No.
They're just
not a lot of
casually
emotion.
walking back
Or
to
none, really.
the village with this dead child.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he does a really good job of leaving it up to the audience to figure out how much it impacts them, just by like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
this is the situation. You guys react to it however you want to.
Yeah, and I mean, I think they have a very real sort of reaction as a result, right? Instead of being over dramatic or anything like that, they're all like kind of in shock. They get to the village
Yeah.
and like nobody speaks English at this village, so they don't even have anybody to like communicate with really.
Yeah.
And they're just like sitting there awkwardly. Like Adrian Brody got injured, so like he gets helped by some kind of doctor, it seems. And then they like eat some curry.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And basically they don't even show like the most emotion is in the other room. It's really interesting. They have like the mother wailing and crying, but you can only hear
Yeah.
her muffled through like a doorway. And yeah, it is. It's like super low key. It's really weird. It's played out very like
It's brilliant filmmaking. It is.
yeah,
You know, because we like you said, you don't see the mother wailing, you just hear her, and it just shows them,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and
yeah,
it makes it more sad somehow instead of seeing her writhing around on the ground wailing and and being upset.
Hmm.
Um,
Mhm.
I don't know. It's just
And that
like I
leads
said, this
in,
this movie ruined me for other Wes Anderson films
right.
because none of
Yeah.
them feel this way to me. Not one of them. They're
I'll
all
tell you that. That's true, actually, because having the opposite, basically the opposite experience, I've seen almost every other Wes Anderson movie except for this one.
really.
Oh, did
And
you watch
watching
this for
this
the
one,
episode, Jer?
yeah, I did.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Just right before starting this, and I noticed, there's a lot of things that are kind of Wes Anderson isms in this movie,
For
but
sure,
they're not
yeah.
like overtly out in your face. Later movies that he makes, he really expands upon some of the stuff that he does in this movie, and it becomes really obvious, like, and that's not a bad thing per se, but it seems like at this point when he was making this movie, it's all kind of done with an element of subtlety to it.
Yeah,
Like
it's way
the
more subtle.
deadpan acting is deadpan, but it's not like really deadpan. Like if you watch Moonrise Kingdom, which I think was one of the first ones I ever saw, it's like so obviously deadpan, and it's fine. It's charming,
Yeah.
but this one I feel like it's all the beats of Wes Anderson, but not overly done or too in your
yeah.
face. Done
Yeah.
with,
It
like I said,
feels surprisingly real. I think as a result.
exactly. And that's what it
That's a good way
does
to
is
put
it
it.
makes it feel a little bit more real because it has that Wes Anderson thing to it, but it's not so in your face like a movie like what Moonrise Kingdom or Grand Budapest where it's so like from the
It's
first few
very Wes
scenes, like
Anderson.
boom in your face Wes Anderson.
Yeah.
So I like this movie because of that,
Yeah. And then they have I love the way that they did this, but they basically have the funeral for the kid, which they get invited to. And then instead of showing the kid's funeral, they actually hard cut to what
So
happened
great.
during the father's funeral.
Amazing
Mhm.
transition.
Just
Amazing transition.
it's like I said, it's why I love this movie so much is because like that you see it comes out of nowhere, but it so
Yeah.
fits.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah, it makes so much
fits.
sense that like that would be the perfect time to
Yeah,
to tell us what happens.
and Adrian Brody's character Peter is basically has to get his father's car out of this garage, and he's the
Mhm.
one that's had all his father's stuff this whole time.
Yeah,
Right.
he's the
You
one
know
that
what I
holds
mean?
on to everything.
So it's like it's very important to him to hold on to be able to hold on to his dad by having his possessions.
Yeah.
And this was the first. Not hint at that, but the first thing where he was obviously he needed his dad's possessions
Right.
part of his grieving process, and the first thing was this car.
Mhm.
Yeah,
know,
and he
he
tries to get
had
it
to-
out of the shop, and then all three of them end up trying to push it out of the shop together.
Yeah,
because
it's
it doesn't
great.
Have the part that it needs to
I love
run,
it.
and a tow truck almost hits all of them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then the best scene in the movie happens.
It's great.
when all like the tow truck driver gets out of his car and he's like, "What the hell are you guys doing, pushing this car in the middle of the road?" And they're just like, "Get back in your car."
Yeah,
Get
fuck
outta here." All three
So
of these
great.
brothers are just like staring down this old tow truck driver, and he's like, "Are you serious? What's wrong with you people?"
But he's actually like looks at him like they're crazy, and he's like, "Oh, okay."
Oh,
He,
yeah,
like
he's
gets
yeah.
back in his
"You
truck.
guys are nuts."
Yeah,
Jason Schwartzman doesn't wear shoes in the whole movie.
yeah.
The whole
Never wore
movie,
shoes.
he's
Oh.
shoeless.
There's a
Even
lot
in
of
scenes
shoeless
where
people,
you don't see his
actually.
feet.
Like when he's
The,
riding, but he never has shoes ever. Like when he's riding that motorcycle.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Really unsafe, by the way.
The
Not
stewardess
recommended.
also was shoeless,
Really?
which I thought was interesting.
Hmm.
The snake wasn't wearing shoes either.
You know what's funny is
Yeah.
that they're always looking for
Well, snakes
Snakes
don't
don't have
power
feet.
adapter.
There you go.
Yeah.
Like through the whole movie, they're
Oh
always
my
looking for a
gosh.
powered adapter.
No,
And then
they're
when-
looking
when-
for this is like the biggest. It's like a setup for Owen Wilson to seem like the hugest asshole in the world because
Yeah,
he's
Tim Brennan.
trying
yeah.
to find that freaking power adapter, and then he says the thing that he said you shouldn't say to Brendan about how he's got alopecia.
What?
Yeah.
And then
So he
Brendan
calls him an
hands
albino.
him the fucking power adapter, and he quits.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you're just
and he
like,
quits.
Owen Wilson is the biggest dick in the
He's
world.
the biggest dick
Mhm.
ever. But it's funny because then when they're at the car thing, the battery's dead.
Oh yeah.
He's Adrian Brody's like, where's the battery charger? I thought that
That's
was funny.
Um,
And it adds into it.
And then so yeah, after that, I mean, you can tell that the guys have been affected a lot from
Well,
it.
that's
I
when you
think
see
that-
well, it also Jason Schwartzman opens up the trunk, the boot or whatever here, and that's one of those pieces of luggage is in there, and he starts rifling through it. So that's the first time we see her like, oh, this is the dad's luggage.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now I know why they've been dragging all this luggage through the whole film.
Because at first I
That's
thought it
true.
was Francis's, because I wasn't really paying attention to the
Yeah.
initials.
So that's Francis holding on to a piece of his dad is the luggage,
Yeah.
right? And Peter's got everything else, his glasses and his razor and his watch, I think, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And his
I don't
keys.
think Jason's. What's that? His keys?
His
Is that what
keys.
it is? Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's interesting because Jason Schwartzman's character just is trying to run away from it all. You know, he goes to
Yeah.
he's been in Paris this entire time. He actually leaves from Paris to go to India, and then he actually wants to leave early. He wants to leave this trip early, which is Adrian Brody's
Yeah.
character outs him in like the first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how each one of these guys are dealing with grief. And actually, about this point in the movie, after we get the funeral flashback, the brothers are about to go to Nepal to meet up with their mother, but they decide to stay. Or no, they're about to leave to go home, but they decide to
Yeah.
stay and
They're about to
go
give
and meet
up
up with their mother.
on trying to find
Yeah.
the mom.
Yeah.
Uh,
Who at this point has actually written back and told them not to come because there's a man-eating lion that is
Yeah.
walking around,
Right.
and she just doesn't think it's a good idea. But
and
she
they're
like
all
expresses
that's
her.
bullshit.
Yeah.
Man-eating
Yeah, come back in the
tiger.
spring.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just
Yeah.
like, she doesn't want to see us. She made up some bullshit to keep us from going.
That's the scene though before where they first get to the airport and they all take turns using the phone for different reasons. I love.
Yeah.
too.
Right. That
Mhm.
that was a cool scene.
And then
Yeah.
whatever brother is over on the phone, the other two, who's he talking to?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And they call so Adrian Brody calls Alice,
His
who's
wife.
pregnant with his child and didn't tell her. So of
Mhm.
course
That he's
she's
gone
yelling.
to-
Yeah. He went to India, so she's of course yelling at him. And then Jack tries to call, or no, he listens to Alice's voicemail, or he calls her, not Alice, his
girlfriend.
whoever that girl is that
Yeah.
dumped him.
I
And
think
then
it's
she's
Natalie
gonna
Portman.
visit him in Italy.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He's been listening to her message machine. He has her code for her message machine. Give you an idea
Yeah.
how old this film is. How old is this film actually?
2007.
Okay, well,
So kind of
were we
fits.
still using message machines back then with codes? And anyways,
We were right
Uh,
at the end, tail end of
yeah.
Maybe.
messaging machines.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then freaking Owen Wilson calls Brendan and
Yeah.
tries to rehire him.
Yeah.
And he comes back and he's like, well, I don't know. I guess he's like my friend.
He tries to hire him back with a 50% raise because otherwise I'm just an asshole.
Yeah. I
Right.
can't leave this. Otherwise, I'm the asshole in the situation. It's like, yeah, dude. You
So
totally
funny.
are.
You still are. It doesn't make it better.
But I guess, like, you know, they kind of realize that they want to see it through to the end. I mean, you know, the first real change happens to them where they feel legitimately awful about not seeing through their journey. They saw like a kid die and they're like, we gotta
Yeah. Well, another great scene is when they're in the bathroom. Get ready to go. on the
Yeah. Well,
plane.
yeah. This is
And
about.
Owen Wilson's
Mhm.
takes off. Can I borrow those scissors?
Mhm.
And
Oh,
takes all the
yeah.
bandages off,
Yeah.
and his face is a fucking wreck.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
very
and
powerful
then
scene.
Jack
Very,
says,
very powerful scene.
looks like, or no, Owen Wilson says, looks like I have some more healing to do.
Yeah.
Which
It
is,
is double
again,
entendre.
Brilliant.
a very,
Mhm.
very important line because obviously he's talking about his
Yeah.
emotional grief.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
but there's
Right.
also, I mean, there's also a very important line that he gives here too, where he does admit, or I guess no, he doesn't talk about his motorcycle accident here, does he?
No,
No, he
that's
says
later.
it.
With the
He
mom.
says it
Never
when they
mind.
meet the mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then
They go to get on the plane and they decide to not get on the plane and go.
and I
to
think
see
it's
their
that
mother
moment
instead.
where he says, "I
Yeah.
still have some more healing to do." That
Yeah.
he
When he
kind of
decides,
realizes that
yeah.
he's not ready to leave India just yet. But they decide to go to Nepal. They take a motorcycle.
Yeah.
And they have their luggage carted there by a tuk is what those are called.
Oh, really?
Right.
The three-wheeled pickup trucks. And they make it to Nepal. They make it to that monastery. They meet the mom, and that's where Owen Wilson reveals very casually that he
Mhm.
wasn't actually in a motorcycle accident. He crashed his motorcycle into a hill
On
on
purpose.
purpose.
Yeah, he tried to
Yeah.
kill himself, and he died.
Which is
Yeah.
funny little trivia here. He dropped out of the promotion for the film because that's when he did his own suicide attempt.
Which I had no idea
Wow.
about.
For
I
real.
had no idea
Yeah.
about.
Oh, really?
I didn't know that either
Yeah.
until right
I
now.
didn't know that.
Apparently, it was
Um,
widely publicized, but I had
Yeah,
no
I remember
idea.
it. Goldie Hawn's daughter broke up with him. Can't remember her name. now.
Wow.
That'll do it.
Yeah. Any It shouldn't.
So he had
It
a failed
did.
suicide attempt.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
failed suicide attempt.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
Wow.
it's rough. So
Man.
yeah, again, like I had no idea because I really like Owen Wilson as an actor. Even in that action movie he was in that was terribly cast for. I'll watch a movie
talking
because
about
Owen
that one
Wilson's
Oh,
in it.
the military movie where he plays
Yeah,
like a
they
an
have to
Air
get out
Force
of
guy?
that hotel or whatever, but it's
Yeah,
like
that
it's
was-
hard to take serious because it's
That
Owen
was
Wilson.
ass.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
I enjoyed
He was
it.
in Bosnia.
Yeah,
I
no,
think so, yeah.
no,
The
it's
military guy in Bosnia. Yeah, that was a weird casting because he's not an action.
he's not an action guy.
Yeah.
It didn't
Well,
work.
he
and it
was
didn't
in
work.
he was in
Yeah.
Shanghai Nights. I mean,
Yeah,
Like,
but that's
we
a
call
comedy
it.
movie. How
He
dare
can
you?
kill action comedy all
Wow.
day.
Yeah.
I Spy is kind of funny.
Wow.
oh, I
Yeah.
Spy is
Wow.
great.
Yeah, with him and
Is that a
Eddie
triple?
Murphy.
What is the? You're a triple agent.
Yeah. He can do
Uh,
action comedy, but straight
Yeah.
action, yeah, it was pretty bad.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
he's really only like serious roles are generally going to be like sadder ones, like Marnie and Me, things like
Oh
that.
yeah.
He's really good at being sad.
Well, he's a funny guy. That's what happens.
But
Right.
He's great
Funny
as
guys.
He's
It's called
great
No
as
Escape.
Hansel.
It's called
No
No
Escape,
Escape.
yeah.
Yeah, came out in
He's great as
2015.
Hansel from
Oh, Zoolander.
Zoolander. I fucking
Oh
love that
my
movie so
God.
That
much.
damn Hansel. So hot right there.
So hot right now. Oh my god!
Uh,
Can it, Zane? You're so great. Anyways,
but yeah, they meet with the mom, and like the mom does all the things that Owen Wilson has been doing in the movie.
mom's kind of a dick.
A little bit.
Don't like the
For
mom.
sure.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But that's it. She's dealing with she's dealing with the loss of her husband, their father, in her own way. You know, which is to completely avoid it.
Again, which is
Completely avoid it.
Jack's character.
Right.
He takes after his mom too. Just escape,
Yeah, very much.
run away. Yep. So.
Yeah, and
So,
and then she runs away from them the next.
Uh huh. We make an
Yeah.
agreement.
uh,
We make an agreement.
We
I
have
mean,
like a
sometimes
we have
she
a
just
very
goes
nice
away.
scene right before that where she says, "Let's communicate without speaking."
Yeah,
and they
that
all
was a great scene
stare at
too.
each other in silence, and then a nice little montage rolls,
Yeah.
and you see a bunch of different things. You see the man-eating tiger that's real.
Uh huh. Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. Which is a real
Obviously,
thing in India.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
There
there
are actually
tigers.
wild tigers out there.
They got tiger problems.
There's
You
a
know, they're
great
known for it.
moment where she says, "This is where the sister's brother was eaten,"
Yeah.
and then they're
No.
all
Mhm.
laughing, and she's like,
I think
"I'm
it's a
serious."
joke.
So fucked up.
Yeah.
But yeah, the next morning she just up and leaves, and they have no idea where she went.
She makes some breakfast.
She does
Mhm.
make them breakfast, but she clearly runs away again.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the brothers, interestingly enough, are like, "Yeah, okay, I guess."
Well,
Yeah.
because I think that's one of the themes of this movie too, is that there's no answer sometimes. That you may seek it,
Yeah.
you're not going to get everything wrapped up in a tight little bow. In fact,
Mhm.
you're not going to get your answer that you were looking for, and that you just got to call it and move on, which is
Yep.
exactly
Yeah.
what that scene's all about. The mom doesn't offer them anything that they were looking for, right?
Not at all.
Which is
yeah.
remorse for leaving, remorse for not being at the funeral, remorse for leaving them. You
Mhm.
know,
And the thing
She
is they
doesn't-
specifically asked for it too. There's when she's
Yes.
about to leave the
Yes.
first night, and Adrian Brody stops her, and he's like, "Mom, actually, there's one more thing," and
Yeah.
calls her out. And he's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
"We weren't there
That's
at
what
the
I'm talking
funeral."
about. And she said, "Why did you go to Dad's funeral?" Because I didn't want to, or she
Yeah.
said, "I didn't. I
Right.
didn't feel like it."
Yeah.
Yeah,
know, and that's
and
the
at
only reason.
first she's like, "Oh, why are you talking about this?" And it's like, "Hey, well, we
It's part
want
of
to
our-
know why you didn't show up.
Part of
This
our
is a
grieving
serious
process.
thing."
And like she tells
Yeah.
him too, it's like, I don't have the answers to these questions.
Yeah.
It's important. Like it's a really important part of the film because a lot of films would wrap it up in a nice bow.
Yep.
She would
Mhm.
apologize and say, I'm sorry, boys, I just couldn't be there for you. She doesn't give him anything,
No,
and then she just
no.
bounces. She
Yeah.
doesn't give
Yeah.
him anything and leaves. And
Mhm.
sometimes that's just
Explains
what
a lot
happens.
about who they are and how they ended up the way they are.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know.
Which we got to assume that because we never meet the dad, we never see him, which I think is great. Also, never see a picture of him. Nothing.
Yeah.
We have to infer what his character was like through Jack and Peter.
Yeah.
Because Owen Wilson's clearly like the mom, so we got to figure Jack and Peter. Probably Peter is most like the dad
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
he's got
Gotta
all
be.
his stuff, and
Yeah.
he even
Mhm.
says at one time, "Dad said I was his favorite." He always
Right.
he admits later,
That's-
nah, he couldn't even talk. He was so fucked
Mhm.
up.
he told
Right.
me he told me.
I think that's what the fight.
How
the
are we
fight is about.
supposed to respond to that?
Yeah,
I love
that's
that.
right.
I love that
Yeah.
line.
That's a great line.
I mean, it's
yeah.
great
Yeah.
It's
because
supposed to make us feel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the dialogue in this movie is so real though too. I mean, it's very almost it's like storybookish, which is a very Wes Anderson thing, but it's still very real at the same time. I get the entire conversation with the mom where they're trying to get closure with her and she doesn't give it to
Yeah.
them. And she's very honest. She's like, I didn't want to go.
Mhm.
Don't have the answers. But then also like Ben just said that scene where, he's like, how are we supposed to respond to this? I mean, it's true. Like, what
Right.
the fuck are you supposed to say if someone's like, I was actually their favorite person ever, and you guys didn't really matter as much? It's just like,
yeah, exactly.
cool, thanks.
But they take it in stride. They hike to the top of the mountain and they do their peacock feather ceremony for real.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We get
Right.
a nice little dance number type of thing.
Yeah.
Where they're all just kind of goofing around, and then they put the peacock feather under a bunch of rocks. And I think this moment and then the one immediately afterwards, which is the end of the movie, is really symbolizing that like their journey is complete. Even though they didn't get any answers, the last thing that they need to do is literally and figuratively drop all the baggage they're carrying.
Yeah. It's fucking
which is
great.
Oh, I didn't even
it's
realize
such a-
that. That's actually pretty good.
yeah, I mean, it's so obvious, but at the same time, it's like such a great moment where they're trying to catch their train on their way out of Tibet, and they realize they can't carry their baggage with them in order to catch this train, so they just chuck all the baggage. But it's the father's
he actually
luggage.
says it. He says it. We can't. I think is that we're not gonna be able to get on with Dad's luggage or something.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I forget what the line is.
Wow. I didn't.
But
I missed
and it's
that
funny
one.
if you
That's
think about it too. What a
good
hard thing to pull off. The symbology, the symbolism
Mhm.
of this luggage. It's reference to another movie, but
Boondock Saints.
Boondock Saints. Thank you. And to even say it out loud, we can't get on the train with Dad's luggage. It's so in your face. Any other time, I think because of the whole movie's not in your face. There's a lot implied. There's a lot inferred. There's a lot you have to. Then the last final moment, they pound you over the head with it, and it
Mhm.
works
Yeah,
so
it
well
does.
for some reason. I mean,
Well, it's 'cause-
how do you pull that off?
It's
Yeah,
tough
no,
because you've been
exactly.
watching them
How do you-
carry this stuff all over India with them, and you don't know
You're like,
why.
what
They
do
don't
you think he's
explain
carrying
why.
this much luggage?
There's never
Yeah.
a scene.
Right.
They always do this in movies. This is a big trope too, where it's like halfway through, or like the climax of the movie where they have the big emotional scene. And you're just like, why are you still holding on to that stuff? Like, this is Dad's stuff. We can't just throw it away. There's none of that in this movie. It's just like
Right.
it's always there. It's always in the background. They make a very obvious show of it because they show the initials all the time. They show all the people trying to put it up on top of the bus, and then they have to take it all off when they get invited to the funeral, and then they're carrying it around there. It's always there. It's always there. But it's great because they never explicitly refer to it. They're never like, why are we carrying this stuff around? It's always there, and just like their emotional baggage is.
Yeah,
And it's
exactly.
so.
And it's honestly it's such a great thing because even though they get rid of all this luggage, they go out of their way to demonstrate that like they are not fundamentally different people. They've just let go of this thing that's been weighing them down because then they get back on the train and they have the exact same beat for beat experience with
Right.
very nuanced differences. Each one
Yeah.
of them puts their own ticket away instead of letting the guy click their ticket is the first thing.
Mhm.
The second thing is Owen Wilson offers the passports.
The passports.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
so
that
good
was one of
back.
my
I love that part
favorite
too.
things.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Oh,
and
great.
Owen Wilson had taken the passports previously because he didn't want them to basically run away, and he
Leave.
wants to be like
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
important. But he tries to
Yeah.
offer them up, and the brothers are like, you know what? I actually feel better with you holding on to them, anyways.
Yeah.
And so it's like,
Owen Wilson's been trying to control the situation the whole movie, right? And control them basically.
Mhm.
and
He's let that go.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And, well, the funny thing is they resent him for for being so controlling.
Yeah.
But at the same time, and this is hinted out early on too, at the same time, he's doing a really good job.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tiger.
He orders for them, and then
What's
he gets
happening?
in trouble.
The chat.
Oh.
He Owen Wilson orders for them, and then Adrian Brody is like, "Hey, don't order for me, man." And he's like, he does the same spiel where he's like semi-ordering for them, and he's like, "The cookies, he's gonna order for himself." And
Yeah.
I know Adrian Brody's like, "Yeah, I want the cookies."
Right.
The cookies.
That was like the most underhanded, like shitty thing. When he's like,
That was
"Oh
so
yeah, by the way,
funny.
you want
Yeah.
the cookies? You probably want the cookies. Well,
You
he's
do
gonna
too.
order for himself.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that made me so mad.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And then what does
Um,
Adrian Brody get? I'll have the cookies.
yeah,
and
exactly.
then he's like,
Because
well, I mean, I guess
'Cause he knows him. He knows
I
his
do
brother.
want
Mhm.
the cookies.
yeah, he does it. Like I said, he does a really
Yeah.
good job, and the brothers at the very end, demonstrate that even though they appreciate that Owen Wilson is willing to give up control, they actually appreciate how much
like
he
that
does
he was
for
taking
them.
care of him. They like
Yeah.
that he
And
was
that's
taking-
a real, and that's a real brother thing sometimes. Like sometimes
absolutely, yeah.
you understand this is the way this person is, and I'm not going to fight you on this anymore. Like in this case, you want to hold on to the passport. You know what? That's fine. Actually,
Mhm.
I'm not going to take offense to that. I think it's fine. It's a totally good idea. You should hold on. You should hold on to them. Yeah, I guess I've been drinking too much.
Some of that sweet lime, man.
I like that. That was like one of the
Mhm.
one of my favorite scenes in the movie was that last line where he's like, you know what? You hold on to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think it just shows like I understand you, I understand the way you work, and I don't
I'm-
have to fight you for control. It's fine. Take the
I'm
passport.
okay with it. It doesn't offend me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
And that's I think I know for me that spoke to me personally because as you continue to grow up in life, you start to understand your brother in a different way,
yeah.
and I don't know, I liked it. It was one
Well,
of
I
my
mean,
favorite things in the movie.
I still call my little brother is 45 years old, so he's not little.
Right.
But I
He
always
is
call him my little
little.
brother.
He's
But
like this big.
exactly, he's 5'9". But I mean, like
Is he really
I
that
tell
tall?
my little brother out of habit, but like I always tell people, I'm like, he's not my little brother anymore. None of us are. I don't have
Mhm.
older brothers. I don't have little brothers. We're all just old now, because
Yeah.
we're all in our 40s and 50s.
Mhm.
So
And
we've
for
all
the
pretty much
audience,
had-
how many siblings do you have, Dad?
I have 5 brothers and 2 sisters.
It's a lot.
So I grew up with a lot of brothers. This is why I think
Mhm.
that's why this movie means so much to me too, because I have brothers that I
Yeah.
still spend a lot of time with. Like
Yeah.
I just went to Yosemite with 2 of my brothers. We
Right.
go on hikes together, stuff like that. We play video games together. So I still spend a lot of time. I go shooting with another 2 brothers of mine. So I still spend a lot of time with my brothers. So that's another reason why this movie means so much to me, is to see that dynamic,
Mhm.
even though we do not have a Wes Anderson dynamic at all. We have our own. And I think it's always like my niece's
Yeah.
my niece's wedding recently. It was her fiance's family and then my family, and we all speak a language we only understand.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And we're all just hanging out and we're just talking shit the whole time,
Yep. That's the waters.
making fun of everybody and everything,
Yep.
and that's what we do. That's the language we speak. So
Yeah.
it's kind of funny, anyways.
Mhm.
But again, that's why when and this movie was an accident. It was years ago when I saw it. I just was like flipping through things. I'm like, I've never seen a Wes Anderson film. I'll check this one out. And I
Mhm.
happened to pick the right one first time. And like I said, it's kind of ruined Wes Anderson films for him because I can't finish it.
Right.
Except
This wasn't
one.
his first one. It was an early one, but it's not his first,
not-
right?
it's
No,
early
he
one, but
got
it's not
started in
first.
like 93, I think, with
'Cause I
Bottle
think
Rocket.
Bottle Rocket is
Yeah.
his first one, yeah.
Then he did Rushmore.
Rushmore.
I mean, he's-
Rushmore's not bad.
Rushmore's
I
really
haven't
good.
seen
I
that one.
really
I
like
think I've been through.
Rushmore.
I think I've been through Rushmore.
It's great. It's Jason. Yeah. Cheers.
Yeah.
Jason Schwartzman. There's so
Yeah.
much shish. There's a lot of
Yeah.
shish in his
Shish,
name.
you know?
I can't.
Yeah.
Shish.
Lots of shishes.
I know. It's just Schwartzman. Jason. Fuck! I'm doing it again. Jason Schwartzman.
Right.
I don't even know what I was talking about. Jesus. It's his first, like one of his first roles.
Jesus.
That's like what got him
Really?
started. But he's 18 when he did Rushmore.
Rushmore, yeah.
Really?
Great
First
movie.
one.
Great movie. He's great in it. He's
Mhm.
himself. Also, I want to point out Jason
It's never
that
gonna
actor, Jason Schwartzman.
There you go.
Is a fucking smoke show in this movie, dude. The entire time he's doing like the smolder towards the camera. Good looking dude.
Mm-hmm.
Just want to throw that out there.
Oh yeah, I mean he's supposed
Can't
to
even
be
blame
too.
that
He's-
Indian chick when
It's-
she
Oh
just
my
It's the
God.
power of the stash. It's the power of the stash.
Dude, he
Yeah,
pulls
he
off
does
that
have a
like
powerful
5 o'clock
stash.
shadow in that stash. Good on you, man.
goals.
Yeah,
That's
Jason,
true.
if you're in the chat,
Cholo stash.
Is Jason Schwartzman your Brad Pitt?
maybe. No, I don't really go out of my way to watch Jason Schwartzman movies.
Oh, okay. Just ask. Throwing it out there.
No, Brad Pitt is my Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt.
Actually, you know what?
Brad Pitt's
Brad
your
says
Brad
ev-
Pitt?
Shashin
Pitt is everyone's
Schwartzman.
Brad Pitt.
See, Bandy's got it right. See, that's how you spell his
What's
name.
that?
I think Bandy says Shashin Schwartzman.
That's it.
Yep, that's it. That's me.
Ah.
That's right. That's the easiest spelling. Um, but
So yeah, they throw the luggage away, get on the train, and they go have a smoke and a drink, and the movie ends.
I love how they bookend with that though. Like, let's go have a smoke and get a drink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Bless you.
no, it's great. I mean,
Ratings?
it just shows that
You got a hot
they
date?
haven't really changed all that much. Um, which I really appreciate because, again, it makes it feel more realistic. It's not like they had this amazing, we're totally different people by the end of the movie experience, but at the same time,
Yes.
they had a very real feeling journey of self where they finally let go of or they finally finished grieving over their father.
That's a good point. They don't
Mhm.
change as people. They're the same guys. They've just gotten over the death of their father.
Right.
They've finished the grieving process, and that's what this movie's about. It's not because I think some movies make that mistake where the character their arc is to completely change as a human being, and I don't
Mhm.
think that's very realistic. I don't think it would really change it
Yeah.
per se. Their personality.
Well, that's
They move past things.
yeah.
or
That's
they
a
don't.
that's a really important thing too. It's like her's a good example because Theodore Twombly in the beginning of the movie, super depressed. Yeah, hold on. I'm just making a point here. Okay, calm the fuck down. Okay.
Why? Why? Because you don't like her?
No. It's just that it's her is Danon's favorite movie, and I feel like
I love her so
and
much.
I still.
Ugh.
But
Yeah.
okay, let me make my
Still
point.
haven't seen
Let him
it.
make his
Nothing
point,
to do
and
with the
then we can
movie. It just
please
has
make
to
your
do with
point, yeah.
character
And then we can
development.
talk about her.
And then we can talk about how bad that movie is.
Shut the fuck up, dude. I will come over there and I will beat your ass. I know where you live.
I will fly to Austin.
I'll
All right,
fly over
tell
to
us
Ben's
about
house.
Tom Tombley.
Yeah.
Theodore Twombly. How dare you? So Theodore Twombly in the beginning of that movie is super fucking depressed, listening to melodramatic music, all that stuff. Is that the right term?
Sure.
Anyways,
so.
melancholy is what I was looking for.
Ah,
Melancholy
okay.
music, all that stuff.
Talking
But
to chicks who are choking themselves with cats and
exactly. And so by the time he like hits that point where like his life turns around, he's a completely different person, which is not real. Everybody goes through those phases, sure. But what I loved about Darjeeling Limited is that these guys, as soon as you meet them, it's very hard to figure out why they're there and what they're doing and what kind of baggage they actually have right off the bat because they're just themselves. They're just people, which is
Right.
a very real thing, especially if they're as estranged as they are, if they haven't seen each other since their father's funeral, which has been a year at this point, and they come back together, they're not going to, they're not going to be like sad sacks of shit. They're going to try and pretend to be normal because they want to appear that way,
Yeah.
and so they do. They don't really get into their baggage until they go through some shit. So,
well, sometimes you don't know you're going through your baggage.
oh yeah, sure.
You know?
But even still,
Sometimes
like
you don't even-
we're still people.
Sometimes you don't even realize you have it unzipped and your hands fingering the billfold in the baggage.
Are we still talking about baggage?
That's
here?
how
moving
far
on.
into the baggage.
Whoa.
Whoa!
Whoa, you just whip your baggage out, man. Calm down.
It's just like Jack whips it out for Rita.
What's your
Mhm.
Rita, yeah,
Rita.
Rita.
God, that scene when he
Rita.
licks that's a Jason Schwartzman being freaking
Sorry, what's that?
being sensual, dude. He licks his hand and puts it off screen, and then she like makes these like
Oh,
glowing
yeah.
eyes, and you're like,
Oh
Wow.
yeah.
Yep.
Power of the
And, you know, I'll
stash.
say this too. This movie is a little bit edgy for a Wes Anderson film, yeah, because there's
That's true.
a number
very
of
adult.
F-bombs in the movie, which is
True.
a little bit uncharacteristic for him.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Right?
and
So there's-
adultery.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and
a
all
few
that stuff.
things
So
that are he
It's
kind of ditched in later movies, getting that edgy with the film. You know?
yeah, it's this movie and the Royal Tenenbaums, because the Royal Tenenbaums they actually show an attempted suicide, which is
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
that's a rough scene, very rough
Yeah.
scene, very beautifully shot, but rough scene.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I mean that's the whole movie. It's really just a story of grief and learning to move past stuff. Through some trials and tribulations. It's a pretty
Trips to
classic.
India.
Yeah, it's a pretty classic
Mhm.
story, but it's told in a pretty realistic way. I think.
Yeah.
It's a very beautiful story. I think. I don't know. Do you guys want to give your final thoughts on what you think about it and what you would rate it?
Sure.
Yeah, let's give ratings.
You want to go first,
Take it in.
Dad, because you chose this one?
9, absolutely, a solid
Mm.
9.
Ooh,
I
not a
love
light
this
9.
film.
It's a solid 9.
Not a light 9, it's a solid 9.
Hmm.
Um,
All right.
It's probably in my top 20,
Wow. Okay.
which
Okay.
I say about
Yeah.
all the movies that we ever. No, and I'm usually the one that
Right.
shits up. Right, we usually this is the we like this podcast. So I'm the one usually shitting on a movie.
Mhm.
But that's the thing. It's
Mhm.
like I do hate a lot of shit, but the shit I love, I love. And this is a great fucking film,
Mhm.
stem to stern, great film, and I think it's got the emotion that other Wes Anderson films don't have. I think the other ones are more cute, right?
Yeah.
Charming.
More whimsical and charming than
We've got
this.
charm.
Whimsical is
Yeah.
what I
This
would say.
has
Yes.
that,
Mhm.
but it's very subtle, and I just, again, like I said, I think it's because it's brothers and their interesting dynamic. I think it has a lot to do with it. Um, them getting over their father's death, some really sweet luggage, that beautiful girl on the train. It's just everything. It's got everything I like in a movie.
Mm.
Luggage, train girls,
I didn't
sweet
know
wine.
that
Come on,
Train
what do you
Girls was a thing
I'm
for you.
sold.
want? Jeremy?
Yeah, this was awesome. I really enjoyed it, and it wasn't. I'll be honest, actually, with you guys. I'd say
I
the
think you
first
should
Well, you're not
lie.
gonna lie to us.
third
Thank
I think you should
through
lie.
Christ.
this movie.
You should lie.
Oh, great! Finally, you're being honest. Yeah, no. The first
About
two
time.
thirds of the movie, I felt a little bit unsatisfied because I came from all these other Wes Anderson movies, and I was like, this
Yeah.
doesn't really feel like a Wes Anderson movie. I was expecting this level of wittiness in the dialogue.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
another thing we didn't talk about is that the dialogue is a lot less.
It's much
snappy.
drier. Yeah, it's much
Yeah.
drier.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
other Wes Anderson movies.
Maybe not as clever sometimes.
No,
as
no,
the
not
Wes
nearly
Anderson-
as clever and witty and snappy as you would expect
yeah.
from the Wes Anderson movies that I have seen previous to this one. So I was a little bit unsatisfied with how it had been going 2/3 through the movie, but the last third of the movie really wraps everything up nicely.
Yeah.
And so by the end of it, I even wrote down on my notes, I was like, I think I'm gonna give this movie like a 6 or whatever, or a 5. Like,
Wow.
I was like, ah. But the way it wraps up, it makes the whole rest of the movie work. And so by the end of the movie, I was like, oh man, this was actually pretty good, and I like it a lot more than
Interesting.
I thought I was going to. So I'll probably give it an 8.5.
Hmm.
I ended up really
That's pretty
liking
good.
it, and now
Nice.
it's funny because when I look at now, I gotta go back and watch some of these other movies from him because, like I said, I feel like this movie has everything that Wes Anderson is known for and is good at, but subtly, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas the later movies, he ups the charm, he ups the wittiness, and that's fun, and I like it. But this movie has the right balance of both.
Yeah.
So I liked it. It's a good 8.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
8.5.
Ben?
Yeah, I think for me, this is just a really charming movie. It's really beautiful. Like, it's hard to like tease this movie in any way. It is very just like classically good. Uh, so I think it's a simple story, but the characters are all very realistic. All of like it's not nearly as whimsical as most of his other movies. It's very like down to earth and grounded.
Mhm.
Yeah.
With really just which makes that scene where they ditch the luggage. I think Dana, you were saying impact so much more. Um, so I think from start to finish, this movie is excellent. I can't imagine any way to make it a better movie. If you want to watch a Wes Anderson movie, this is probably the one to watch, I would say.
I'd say
That's
so.
the
And
best-
if you like
that's the
this, then
best.
you could probably go on to something as crazy as like Grand Budapest or Moonrise Kingdom, which is like
Yeah, I mean, it's like
Yeah,
if
which
you
is-
if you want this but more, like go on to those other things, but definitely start
Yeah.
here because this is a very, very well done movie first and foremost,
Mhm.
before being aesthetically Wes Anderson. I would give this movie an 8 or a 9 out of 10. Yeah, strong 8, light 9. I think for me.
nice. Nice.
Yeah.
The light
Yes.
nine.
Bring that
I
light
mean, you
9
could
back.
say 8.5 like everyone else.
Nope.
The
but-
Light
light
9.
Strong 8,
Whatever.
light
nine,
9.
Light
I guess.
I guess I'll go. Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorites. It's not my favorite. I don't know which one is my favorite. I think there's like 3. I think there's Grand Budapest Hotel, Darjeeling Limited, and then Royal Tenenbaums. Those are like my 3 favorite ones, and I can't decide which one is my absolute favorite. But this movie does hit in a certain way that is like it's much more impactful than the other two. I don't know.
So this one.
Yeah, no, the other
Oh.
ones are impactful in a different way.
True.
No, I really like this movie, and then watching it again too, and that's like I said, it's the first time I've watched it all the way through. No, it's really really good.
Why is that?
I don't know. When I was watching it the first time, I think it was like super late, and I just
Oh,
I was getting
That'll do
tired,
it.
and I just didn't finish it. But this time I was hooked, absolutely
Oh,
hooked.
nice.
Yeah.
So it was like one of those good like afternoon movies, and you're just like, kind of get sucked into it. So yeah.
That is how I felt when I watched this movie. Before long, you're sucked into it. At first, you're kind of like, "Eh, it's
No,
a movie."
nothing like a good movie suck. That's what I always
Yeah.
say.
That's what I always say.
That's one of my lines.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a
What are you
date
guys doing
idea.
later? Oh, probably movie suck,
Probably movie suck.
or
Mhm.
you know,
Or
Movie
two.
Suck is actually the sister podcast to this one. Things we don't like.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
that's a great name for a podcast. Movie suck.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be sure to get on that one.
We're gonna start a
Um,
whole separate one.
Yeah.
Let's not use that name.
Not Movie
I'm
Suck.
good.
But I have so
Not-
many ideas. We could
Not
watch
all right.
Dream Betweens. We could watch. I wish I knew like a bunch of porn names. I feel like that.
I wish you did too, Ben. I
Right,
really
right.
wish
Yeah, me too,
you
Ben.
brushed up
I
on
can't
that
think
those
of
porn
any.
names before you got on the podcast.
Star
No.
whores. That's
That
one.
was that's not really a thing though anymore, right? Because porn's
I don't think so.
I don't know.
ubiquitous.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
you're
like
right.
nowadays
It's
when you
like
can only
What
get it-
is? What do you
Well,
mean?
It's everywhere.
Ubiquitous.
I
It's so
think it's
esoteric.
It's ubiquitous.
I
porn
think
is
you're right.
esoteric.
There aren't really names to porn anymore. It's more like step ladder.
That's what I mean. It was Debbie Does Dallas. Step
Right.
ladder. Step brother.
What are you doing,
I'm
step
stuck in the
ladder?
mixer again. The
Okay.
cement mixer.
Anyways, I didn't even get my score yet.
Yeah, what's your
Oh.
story, David?
My score's 9.
It's
Absolutely
10 cement
9.
mixer.
Oh, it's a 9. Is it
Ho-
a solid 9 though?
It's a hard
nine?
9. It's a hard 9.
Light
hard-
9 or a hard 9? Oh.
Mm.
hard 9.
Mhm.
Ugh.
Step
Gross.
above.
Yeah, it's a stepbrother 9.
Where is
Smack
that
in
in
the
relation to strong?
Yeah,
Hard and
I'm gonna give it a
strong.
stuck 9.
Stuck in the dryer 9.
That's good.
That's
Mhm,
funny. We get
mhm.
stuck in the dryer. So unrealistic.
Um,
Right,
yeah,
Darjeeling
well,
Limited.
we
Fucking
did
I,
it.
go
I didn't
watch
even
it.
know how to
You haven't
fucking
seen
transition out of that one. Jesus. Yeah, Darjeeling
Go
Limited.
watch
There you
Darjeeling
go.
Limited.
It's $4
Watch
it.
on Amazon.
It is. $4.
Danon, run
Yeah.
the graphic that says that we all want we approve.
Oh,
Was it we approve graphic?
Okay, that's all I got. I don't have any
Wow.
graphics for that, man. Here. So yeah, there you go. I'm gonna take a page out of Jeremy's book and end it with a nice little bit of radio voice here. So this has been the We Like This podcast, and we really appreciate you guys joining us on this Tuesday
Let Jeremy do it.
night. Jeremy, do you wanna do it?
You wanna outro it?
This concludes our coverage. We like this podcast.
I don't
Darjeeling
know. It's so
Limited.
good.
Join us next week as we cover a movie.
You didn't
We should
figure out
probably
what
figure out what
we're
we're gonna do next week.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. What are we doing?
Are we gonna keep with like the artsy stuff, or what do you want to do?
I mean, I'll tell you, I still haven't. I mean, I don't know if we want to go down a whole Wes Anderson rabbit hole. He has a lot of movies, but I haven't seen Rushmore.
I haven't seen Rushmore.
Let's do
The problem with
Rushmore.
here's the problem with Wes Anderson films, right? You'll
Mhm.
see one like Darjeeling Limited and go, "Oh my god, I love this," and then you'll start watching his other shit. I'm talking about me personally now.
Yeah,
It's exhausted very quickly. because
and I
it's
was gonna
kinda the
say
same style.
it could
So-
be a thing where we, watch one or two and we're like,
Yeah,
So
I don't think you can do a
now,
run on him. You can't
so-
like spend
I
a
mean,
weekend watching every.
no,
not me.
I don't think so either.
I'm
There's
fine
too
with.
much Wes Anderson.
Yeah, I'm fine with
There
not
was
doing
a,
Wes
I,
Anderson,
it
but-
pisses me off now because I can't remember the movie I wanted to recommend. Oh, I do remember it now.
Perfect.
It's a comedy. It's called Nice Guys. Have you seen it?
Oh
my
yeah,
God, I
with
love
Russell Crowe and
And-
Ryan Gosling.
and, Ryan
And
Gosling.
Ryan
Yeah.
Gosling, yeah.
Never
We should
seen
absolutely
it.
watch that. That's such a great.
Never even heard
Yeah,
of it.
yeah.
Really
Yeah, I'll watch the
funny,
movie.
and I saw it in theaters when it came out, and no one saw it. It didn't do well at the
No, it
box
didn't do
office.
well.
But then I
Huh.
rewatched it, or I haven't finished it yet, but I started rewatching it on Hulu the other day, and I was like, dude, this movie's so fucking good. It's so funny. And Russell Crowe and
Really?
Ryan Gosling, who would have thought?
They
Those
do
two guys are so good
an
together.
Excellent job.
So
It's, yeah.
Huh.
yeah,
Let's do that.
you guys want to watch that?
It's-
Nice Guys.
cover it?
Yeah, I'm down.
Yeah.
I've never
Yeah.
heard of it. So
It's
a good movie.
about two PIs that have to team up together to solve a mystery.
okay. So original.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, okay, I should say Ryan Gosling is the PI. Russell Crowe is just basically like muscle. He's like just a guy that you pay to beat people up.
And at this point in his life, he's
Essentially.
just one muscle. He's pretty thick in this
Yeah.
movie.
So anyway,
yeah,
it's the
it's
two of them
Filling
teaming
out
up.
that
muscle.
duster that he's wearing.
Yeah.
So.
yeah, it's great, and it's not exactly a buddy cop film or anything like that. Just watch it and you'll.
Yeah, yeah. Don't tell me any
Mhm.
more about it. I'd like to go in as cold as possible. It's so hard to do these days when
It's
movies.
cold.
Right?
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
But yeah, let's watch that one.
Cool.
Like I said, I've
Okay,
never
done.
even heard
The
of
Nice
it,
Guys.
so.
That's
Mhm.
what it's called.
All right.
Right,
The
nice
nice
guys.
guys next week.
So,
This has been the We Like This podcast.
oh, there we go.
Who the fuck was that?
We'll just have a round.
I'm Ben, and that's everybody else.
Oh, thanks. After knowing, how long have I known you and you don't know my name?
Yeah, you're everybody. No,
Yeah,
you're every.
yeah.
That's body, and he's else.
Ah.
I like how you're pointing at your computer screen. I don't know who you're talking about.
Doesn't matter.
Okay. Anyways, I would like to thank everybody for tuning in.
Mhm.
Great to see you guys. I loved the chat. Gina loves our radio voices, so thank you, Gina. I don't know if I'm
Oh,
doxing you right now.
good.
I'm sorry if I am.
Glad.
But yeah, so this is the We Like This podcast. We live stream now we live stream on YouTube every Tuesday, 7:30 or 5:30
Central time.
or Central 5:30.
Come on, you can watch. You know you guys aren't doing nothing. It's
What's our
Tuesday.
what's our mountain time? Did we get that one down? Sorry. Anyways, so you can follow us on Instagram at We Like This Podcast, or our individual Instagrams are right
You can
here.
also join our Discord.
And our Discord. Our
What does that
Discord is
mean?
linked in the info on this
I see that all the
description.
time. Do people get on Discord and just bullshit on Discord or something?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, we have like an entire server that we do that on. It's fantastic.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm on the Discord. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me.
What questions are we gonna
I don't know.
How do you get on
doing?
this Discord?
have?
Yeah, that's a question.
How the fuck does this work?
Yeah.
It's all in there. It's pretty
Why
self-explanatory.
are we doing this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who are we?
Um,
All right. Well, awesome. So next week we're gonna do Nice Guys. Again,
Yes,
we do
on
like
Hulu.
what did I call it earlier?
A constant
Continuous
synopsis.
synopsis.
Continuous,
sorry.
constant synopsis. So you don't have to
Yeah,
watch the movie,
constant.
although it does help if you have. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Good night.